I have been saying this since the Spotify controversy started. If Taylor Swift removed her music, bye-bye Spotify.
Does anybody have any, wicked random celebrity beef?
Whenever anybody asks me about my hobbies, I usually go, I like to listen to podcasts. And someone will always go, do you listen to the Joe Rogan Experience? And I go, absolutely not. And then they'll go, why? And I go, well, because I had the Joe Rogan Experience. In 2004, my best friend insisted on dragging me to the Comedy Store in LA for my birthday. And she said that this guy, Joe Rogan, was hilarious. I said, the host of Fear Factor is hilarious? She said, yes. So I said, let's go. So we go. And while the two comics that went up ahead of him were, in fact, hilarious, he was higher than a giraffe on stilts, incoherently rambling what I guess were jokes on stage. Nevertheless, my friend insisted on going backstage to meet him, and when we went back there, that's where he told his worst joke. She said that she was a fan, and her boyfriend both went to the same dojo as him. He says, oh yeah? What classes are you taking? She goes, I'm taking a women's self-defense class. To which he replies, women's self-defense classes are a joke. They're just a way for dojos to make money. I bet you I can throw you on the ground and rape you right now. Hilarious.
Good morning, I just woke up and the first thing I am doing today is canceling my Spotify premium subscription. It pains me to do this. If you know me, you know that I live off of Spotify playlists. I have Spotify playing all the time. And I've been a Spotify premium subscriber for years. Literally one of the first things I did when I got a debit card was to open a Spotify premium account. But as much as it pains me to do this, it is so much more harmful for people like Joe Rogan who are spreading dangerous misinformation about a global pandemic during that global pandemic to remain platformed. So until Spotify removes Joe Rogan, I will be canceling my subscription. And if you are a member of the disabled, chronically ill community, or you're an ally to those communities, I hope that you will do the same. I hate to do it. Cancel premium. Yes, I want to cancel. Yes, I want to cancel. Yes, I want to cancel. Once you successfully canceled, be sure to leave a comment about how they need to remove Joe Rogan. It is done. Let me know where I should get my music now.
There is no one on earth more fragile than a Joe Rogan fanboy.
Here we go. Not even 24 hours after his public apology on Instagram, and Joe Rogan does it again. He tweeted out an article that Reuters had earlier posted, stating that Japan found that ivermectin was proven to be effective against the Omicron virus. Here's the problem with that, though. Had he done just a little bit of real research, he would have found that 10 hours before he posted that tweet, Reuters had retracted and corrected that story. Lo and behold, it turns out that company in Japan, they never stated that ivermectin was effective against Omicron. But it doesn't matter, especially in this day and age. Who do you think 13 million people are going to believe? Joe or Reuters?
As much as I am gratified to see artists like Joni Mitchell and Neil Young taking a stand against misinformation, I think this is probably true. It's going to take other artists, especially younger ones, to really pick up the steam that's needed to make this happen. And if I may be so bold, I think that the person to do this might be Selena Gomez. Selena has been clear about the realities that disinformation presents since December of 2020. She made an outstandingly direct statement right after the January 6th insurrection and has spoken on this as recently as last July. Furthermore, like me, Selena Gomez has lupus. She's spoken publicly about the difficulties having this chronic illness can present, including chemotherapy and a freaking kidney transplant, y'all. So Selena, if I can speak to you as your lupus compatriot, as someone who couldn't refill my hydroxychloroquine prescription during this pandemic, due in no small part to disinformation doctors like this guy who Rogan platforms, I think it's time to take your existing activism to the next level. I hope this video catches your eye, and if it does, that you reach out so we can talk about it more. An estimated 825,000 lupus patients at least went without their hydroxychloroquine during COVID. Nothing about us without us. Hope to hear from you.
Lost almost $5 billion in stock value, and they have...
And to that I say, excellent. If you're like me and sick of misinformation killing people, and the platforms that harbor it not giving a crap because no one's hurting their bottom line, cancel your Spotify. I canceled it this morning. I'm tired of it. You got to hit them where the money is. That's the only way they're going to care. Loss of human life they don't care about that, so cancel that Spotify. There's other services out there. You can do it the OG way and buy MP3s outright and do what you got to do. But show them a true protest.
Harry and Meghan are expressing concerns for Spotify's misinformation. Here's your daily reminder to cancel Spotify and tell Rogan to fuck off. Here's your daily reminder to switch from Spotify to Apple Music or Amazon Music, whatever.
and peak with the Joe Rogan fanboys is that they can't discern the difference between an opinion and a fact. And all they have are bad opinions, and they call them Becks.
Looks like a lot of people are canceling their Spotify account. Their share prices have gone down almost 25% in the past month. While I think it's great that people are putting their money where their mouth is, my uninformed opinion is that it's going to take a lot more artists like Neil Young standing up for what's right. Considering Neil Young is speaking from a very personal place of having contracted polio himself, I'm very curious to see if other artists, especially younger ones born in the age of mass vaccination, will follow his lead. So artists with their music on Spotify, especially bigger ones who could have the kind of impact that Neil Young does, please consider this an open invitation to reach out to me. My name is Abby. I'm a disability activist who relies on hydroxychloroquine every day to treat my lupus. Because of misinformation from doctors like the ones that Joe Rogan platform, people like me have had trouble accessing our essential daily medication, the one that keeps our immune systems from attacking our own bodies. I personally understand the toll that misinformation can have on a life, and Neil Young knows even better than I do. So listen to disabled people. Let us explain to you why letting misinformation go out repeatedly to 11 million people is the wrong choice. We know from experience.
Spotify will remove Neil Young's music from its streaming platform because the 76-year-old rock icon objected to the company's response to vaccine misinformation. This matters more than you'd think given the popularity of old music. 70% of the music streamed online is older than 18 months. Many of the big new releases of 2021 were dropped because tour dates got COVID canceled. Oldies are popular partly because more boomers and Gen Xers are using streaming services, but a big driver of this trend is TikTok. Case in point, remember the skateboard guy who turned Fleetwood Mac's 1977 hit Dreams into a 2020 chart topper? A lot of the investment money flowing into the music industry now is coming from big catalog deals where older artists sell the rights to their classic songs. And now rock legend Joni Mitchell is joining Neil Young and also having her music removed from Spotify. Ultimately, Spotify chose Information Podcast over Neil Young's music because of money.
Sorry, Spotify. It's just not enough. In the wake of Neil Young and other artists leaving Spotify over Joe Rogan's misinformation campaign, Spotify decides it's not going to get rid of that controversial podcast, nor is it going to cut any ties with Joe Rogan. They've reviewed the podcast in question and determined it does not violate any of the guidelines in place. But if you decide to dig deeper into Spotify's guidelines, they specifically outline the fact that they do not allow misinformation related to COVID-19. They also don't condone people talking about not wearing masks or any other information that would be in direct conflict with CDC guidelines. Joe Rogan has now and continues to violate every one of those guidelines. It's kind of like this TikTok thing where you report a video that you know damn well breaks a guideline, but it's got 1 million views, so they're going to keep it up. I want to let those viewers know that you're doing a great job. Keep canceling those Spotify accounts and move on to someone else. There are other platforms you can go to.
It's bad enough that Spotify has always had shady practices when it comes to paying musicians. They literally pay them next to nothing, especially compared to Apple. But check out what Apple just did. Literally the first thing I pulled up on Apple Music.
Joe Rogan made a 10-minute apology on Instagram yesterday, thanking his haters as he pledges to balance out controversial views amid misinformation backlash. The only way Joe Rogan is going to balance out his views is to hire a scientist as a co-host to tell him to shut the hell up.
Anyone else spend like maybe 15 hours this weekend syncing their Spotify account with Tidal or Amazon Music or YouTube Music or whatever so you can drop Spotify because fuck Joe Rogan? Friends, my playlists run so deep. We gotta make sure they're all good before we turn it off. Spotify is losing a shit ton of money right now. Love to see it. Love to see it. I'm almost ready to turn it off. Had to work on my husband's account a little bit too, because I'm making him do the same. There's a site I paid $24 for a whole year called Tune My Music that like syncs your playlist that you have with them. So you can just jump ship. You can do it. I'm doing it. There are a lot of errors and things, not because of that, but because my whole catalog is a mess, but it's happening. Get off of Spotify.
Breaking, Mary Trump just removed her podcast from Spotify in protest of Joe Rogan's COVID misinformation. If you haven't deleted Facebook, do so already. It's a trash platform.
Here you go. Let me go, Corey. Yeah. Go best friend. Coming for me like a whole best.
We got some hot takes from metal musicians on the Joe Rogan-Neil Young controversy. Let's get into it. Now, before we get any further, I would like to clarify that Spotify is already working to have Neil Young's music taken off the platform. But there's hope. Even though Spotify is going to drop their music, there will be a Sirius XM channel called Neil Young Radio.
Now for the beat.
Jamie Josta from Hatebreed took to Twitter to say, Spotify doesn't care, Neil. Rogan isn't your problem. Start your own streaming service where you pay the bands more than what Spotify pays, then they'll care. That's when Sebastian Bach hops in with misinformation about the vaccines is everybody's problem. Neil Young is doing this because he wants rock and roll to exist and his fans to live. This other guy is a complete jackass who doesn't give a shit about anybody or anything except himself. Only for Jamie Josta to come back and say, come on my podcast to discuss, Twitter ain't the place. Of course, because if we're going to beef about this, you're going to get your clicks for it, right? And David Draymond proved that he didn't understand free speech when he said that, Daniel Ek, I applaud you and Spotify for making the right call, preserving hashtag free speech, and not capitulating to the mob. I may not agree with everything Joe Rogan or his guests say, but they're entitled to have the forum to say it.
If he doesn't get special treatment, then why does he have a $100 million contract?
Good afternoon, friends and trolls. The mass exodus of Spotify has begun. They can thank Joe Rogan for losing $4 billion in their company this week, and other artists are following suit, such as Joni Mitchell, the Foo Fighters, Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney, Rolling Stones, and Dave Grohl will all be joining Neil Young in leaving Spotify, and you should too.
Nils Lofgren is the latest artist to pull his music from Spotify after the Joe Rogan shit. If you don't know who this person is, fucking Google it. In my respect for Graham Nash went up 15 million points. I'm probably going to stream Our House 50 times on my Apple Music. India Ari says she's pulling her music from Spotify after Joe Rogan made numerous racist comments. David Crosby just put on his Twitter calling for the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young music to remove from Spotify. Let's keep the rabbit hole going down. Let's cancel Spotify.